2018, the end of a season, the end of an era.
Yeah, year in review. Let's burn through that.
Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Dax, and welcome to the Cold Room.
Yeah, year end, Christmas time, Michael Bublé is playing everywhere.
Boney M as well.
Thankfully not Mariah Carey. But very quickly, let's dive into the overall year, our thoughts on each thing. We'll start off with everything that's at the start of the year, at least in the Southern Hemisphere, and that's Super Rugby. Overall, some promising bits of play. You know, South African teams, again, not quite performing to the extent the New Zealand teams. Australian teams definitely not performing.
Surprises by the Argentine Pumas and the Brave Blossoms, the Jaguares and the Sunwolves.
Yes.
There we go. Very promising games from them. Look, they were the perpetual get hammered ons by a lot of the bigger name teams, but surprisingly, not the Jaguares.
Jaguares. It's the same team.
They did go through a 7-week win streak.
Yeah.
So very promising for them. Controversially, the refereeing went from starting off pretty well to ending pretty poorly. So
let's just put it this way: refereeing across the board, no matter what tournament we're talking about, shocking. So we won't bring that up.
We won't bring that up anymore. But Super Rugby, promising. Again, South African teams and Australian teams scraping through because of the convoluted conferencing system, which does need to be streamlined and actually become a merit-based system.
Exactly. Some exciting things. We saw the Bulls completely revamp their style of rugby to a much more exciting brand of rugby. Yes, they did lose a lot of games, but they played a lot better than previously. In terms of Sharks, back to their physical roots. Stormers,
a bit of a back foot this year.
Still dominating forwards. Lots of injuries didn't help them. But
the Lions still top the log in terms of the South African conference, keeping the same brand of rugby. New change of coach though kind of meant that they were half and half a lot of the time. But let's hope South Africa have a better showing in 4 months.
Yeah, that moves us to the June tests. Very quickly, we had England come to South Africa. We had Ireland go to Australia. Yes, and France went to New Zealand. Those are really the only countries we care about.
Let's start with the worst of the worst. So Ireland completely dominated and destroyed Australia.
Yeah. The end. One notable mention is CJ Stander, ex-Bulls loose forward that moved over to Munster. He has turned into a really big key player in the Ireland squad, which is fantastic for him. He actually went over to Ireland because he wasn't getting selected for any of the Springbok squads, and that's come back to bite us in the ass.
Yeah, it definitely has. The French-New Zealand test window, largely competitive in high regards. It wasn't high scoring or anything like that. The French were very, very brave on attack. They did dominate up front in certain aspects, but New Zealand showing their class, just seeing out the series. They won it in a clean sweep, 3-0.
I have to say that really New Zealand won it in their textbook way of playing an 80-minute game. France were really competitive for the first 60 minutes of the matches, sometimes even leading in those first 60 minutes, but would just let it fall through their fingers at the death.
Agonizingly so.
South Africa, England was the start of the Rassie Erasmus era. Big promises, and we lived up to those promises. Scraping 2 wins. Both wins were fairly similar in that they were come from behind wins, which it was great to see that the boys weren't giving up anymore, because that was the case previously. But otherwise there were some things we needed to work on. Handling errors, discipline. But winning the series 2-1 was a great thing for South Africa.
The New Zealand test, which was the last one, the dead rubber, we weren't that great under a high ball, especially under the wet conditions, and that really, really showed. So something that is going to need to be fixed in next year's World Cup. Which brings us to the Currie Cup.
I just watched my favorite pair of pants get thrown away.
Ouch. But let's burn through the Curry Cup.
Overall, I think it was a disappointing Curry Cup season.
I think for the world's oldest running like championship event for rugby, it was a bit of a castaway series.
It's definitely lost its prestige, its viewership. Briefly, the teams, you know what, we had some, obviously the standard quarterfinals, Sharks, Lions, Bulls, Stormers, you know, wow, big surprise there. But overall, I would have to say that if we compare Stormers to Western Province, it's chalk and cheese.
Yeah, Western Province is a much more dominating team. Although we did fluff it in the semi-finals a little bit, and then we did fluff it completely in the finals.
So, I think
we dominated. We won the group stages without losing a match.
And then they went into extra time, and then lost the final.
Yep.
So, overall, I would think that in the future the Curry Cup needs to be looked at from another perspective.
I think it needs to be brought back to the level of prestige that it used to have.
Yeah, I think if there was something else on the line, in the sense that it's non-negotiable, semi-finalists play Super Rugby, whether it is the Pumas or the Falca eventually, you know, that might add some more emphasis to it, shift it a little bit later in the year. So
they need to shorten Super Rugby. That's one thing.
Essentially it. But moving on to the Rugby Championship.
So this is where we measured the Springboks mostly this year, because we had to show where we performed against Australia and New Zealand, which are our top two teams that we measure ourselves by. So started off well, we beat Argentina. Then we took a nosedive and lost to Argentina. Then we should have beat Australia, but we ended up losing to them because of our ill discipline.
Yeah.
Then we held on for a momentous victory over New Zealand. Then we thumped Australia. And then we
should have won.
We were leading New Zealand up until the 75th minute. We were 13 ahead. And then they came back to beat us 32-13.
Just purely on discipline on that one.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've spoken about that before. I put the pictures up.
Yeah.
You know, we can debate whether Afika Ione was actually holding up his body weight or not.
Yeah, there was a lot of things that went against us in those.
But
in
overall,
if
we're looking at it compared to the last two rugby championships,
this was better.
Yeah.
This was loads better. So a lot of promise. The guys must just work on their discipline. We've shown that we can beat New Zealand.
Yeah.
We just need to remember how to do that. I mean, we beat them by being physical with them.
Exactly.
You know, a lot of defensive structures need to just be a little bit better, and then I think we will kind of be very competitive against them.
Exactly. And that brings us to the end of your tour. We had some fantastic games in that tour. Like, I'm not talking about like performance-wise, but actually as a viewing game, there were some edge of your seats rugby matches.
Yeah.
Started off against England. You know, there were some revenge tactics there. You know, we could argue that there was some officiating
issues. Well, Angus Gardner did go on the record to say he got that call wrong.
Only after he won World Referee of the Year.
Pretty much.
Anyway, it's not. We don't hold grudges.
We don't hold grudges, but Angus, we're going.
I'm watching you, Brussels.
So England was a tight one. I mean, we missed. Look, let's face it. We missed a penalty to squeak ahead. Even if we didn't get the penalties at the end that we were deserving, but yeah, I mean, we lost that one for ourselves.
Yeah.
But then we went to France. Heart and throat moment. We won it at the death. 85th minute, try Bongi Manami, and then we did pretty well against Scotland.
And then lost against Wales, our perennial,
I don't know.
Our perennial end of year sub.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the guys can't be that tired because they played for Barbars this weekend and they did a come from behind win against Argentina.
Yeah, I mean, that's very impressive from the Barbarians. Good on them. I mean, they were, 13 out of 26 players were Springboks.
Pretty much.
So, I mean, was it really the Barbarians or was it just the Springboks.
With with a little bit of spice thrown into it.
But I would like to have a notable mention of New Zealand versus Ireland.
Yes.
Wow. What a game of rugby. That is really the type of rugby I would want to watch.
Yeah, tightest of margins, 16-9 the final score. All that was in it was that try by the Irish winger.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
He got charged down for doing the same thing, but luck went his way the second time he attempted it. Gathered the ball, brilliant try. I mean, I think New Zealand have had 2 teams now beat them this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, they are going to be working on some.
And when they have won, they've only just scraped wins.
Yeah, I must say this European tour was one of the toughest ones I've seen in a long time.
Conveniently, I noticed that South Africa didn't play Ireland this year. I wonder why.
Well, let's put it to you this way: we did beat them 2 years ago.
Yes, we did beat them 2 years ago.
But
they're a different team now.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, very briefly, because we're South African and we only care about South Africans, best forward, in your opinion?
Best rock forward this year, to me, there's quite a few players that put up their hand, but for me, Peter Steph Toy was a massive standout this year.
Complete agreement there.
He's basically our utility forward, switching between lock and flank, but flank has been found himself.
I want him to stay number 7.
Yeah, flank is definitely a position that he's been playing very, very well at. And, I mean, he's slimmed down for the role. The guy's making tackles, the guy's steals, breaking through lines. He's definitely the best back forward of this year.
Best back, in your opinion?
I'm going to say, from my side, Andre Pollard. He did start off a little bit slower in the beginning, but as the years progressed, he has definitely come into his own. He's been a lot more solid in the back line. I'd just like to see him be a little bit more like the general we want him to be.
I think we have quite a good... I agree with you with Pollard being the best back. I think we have quite a nice system going where Delende gets subbed off, Pollard moves to inside centre, and Yankees comes in at 10. I think that's a perfect 60-minute substitution where everything works, the team's still galvanized, and then you have 2 really strong leaders on the field as well.
Yeah.
I would like to make notable mention of Mr. Dependable in the back of Jesse Creel.
Yes, Jesse Creel's been fairly good this year.
He's been really good. I wouldn't say he's had a bad game. He's had excellent games, he's had good games. Wouldn't say he's had a bad game. He makes his tackles, he's there on attack, so a notable mention to him as well.
Yeah. I mean, another option that will probably end up happening is Damien Willemster comes in at fullback and we have 3 fly-halves on the field.
No, but then I'm worried we would have remember when Australia went through that stage where their entire backline was fly-halves?
Well, these guys are a little bit smarter.
Okay, true.
MVP for me this year, I don't know if you'll agree with this, is Apiwe Diante.
I would definitely say that. If not MVP, maybe find of the season. Given that it was essentially his debut Super Rugby season, gets his Springbok debut in the same season, wins World Breakthrough Player of the Year. So fantastic player all around. Definitely helps solving our wing crisis. He just needs to learn one thing, and that is don't get sucked in. Don't get sucked in. You're a winger. Stay on the outside.
Stay on the defensive line, Steph. Let your cover defense come through.
Anyway,
but that's things that the Springbok coaching need to fix before the next World Cup. But he's a great player. I think he's going to definitely be doing some really, really great things.
And in terms of things I would like to see next year, well, for one, the Super Rugby tournaments being played through. There's no international break, so we might actually see some more continuity there. I don't know. For me, we did mention this when it happened, but when we came back from the international break, it seemed like Super Rugby was already finished, and I was bored watching it, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
So maybe that helps. There's also talk of key players being rested from Super Rugby for the World Cup.
Well, because player fatigue is a massive consideration, considering the English season will end around March, April, and they have up until September to really rest and get their players fit.
Exactly. So overall, I'm excited for next year.
Yeah.
So World Cup year, we've got a fantastic group where it's New Zealand, South Africa, Namibia, Canada, and Scotland.
I think that's it. But also, before we sign out this is our final episode for the season, so we'll start again, I think, a week before Super Rugby starts. And in that time, we'll do a Facebook page, maybe a Twitter.
A Twitter.
And yeah, we'll see you in the new year.
Yeah, so have a happy festive season and don't drink too much.
Yeah, and thank you for watching and subscribing this year.
Cheers.
Cheerio.